Introduction to Shinran's Notes on the Inscriptions on Sacred Scrolls. In Notes on the Inscriptions in Sacred Scrolls, Shinran discusses the scrolls that hung in the altars of the early Shin Buddhists. These scrolls held either the sacred name of Amida written in Chinese characters or portraits of the Pure Land Masters. In addition, inscriptions relating to the name or to the figure depicted were written on separate pieces of paper and affixed to the scrolls as expressions of reverence and praise. These inscriptions were in Chinese, generally drawn from the Pure Land Sutras and the writings of the Masters, and in his notes, Shinran explains their meaning and significance for those without training in Chinese. Literally translated, the title of his notes reads, Inscriptions on the Sacred Name and Portraits. In Shinran's day, both wooden statues and scrolls were placed in the altars of Pure Land Buddhists. Statues were required for recognized temples, but lay people often assembled to listen to the teaching in gathering places called dojo, which were usually private homes. Here, scrolls were commonly hung. Unlike Honen, who enshrined the statue of Amida in his altar, Shinran appears to have preferred the hanging scroll. Wooden statues have, of course, also been used in the altar throughout Shin history, but Shinran's high regard for altar scrolls has been transmitted as part of Shin tradition, as is most strongly expressed in the well-known words of Renyo, quote, In other traditions, preference is given to painted images of the Buddha over a scroll bearing the name, to wooden images over painted images. In our tradition, preference is given to painted images over wooden images, to the name over painted images. Close quote. It has been common to view the use of scrolls by the early Shin Buddhists, and particularly the use of the written name, as representative of trends in Kamakura Buddhism away from centralization in large monasteries toward adaptation to the daily life of the laity. It should not, however, be assumed that altar scrolls bearing the name were easily available or casually made. The surviving scrolls which Shinran had made for the altars of disciples are the work of professional artists and craftsmen working in ink, pigment, and gold on silk. Thus, although the immediate reasons behind Shinran's use of altar scrolls can only be conjectured, it may be illuminating of his preferences as well as helpful for an understanding of his notes on the inscriptions on sacred scrolls to consider two specific innovations which he made. One, his adoption of the written name on altar scrolls, and two, his handling of the scroll inscriptions.